Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the top 5 favorite Spider-Man omnibuses that I own. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. Alright guys, like I said, this is specifically going to be my top 5 favorite Spider-Man omnibuses that I own. So I think it's important for you to see my Spider-Man collection first, so you know what I actually have and the material that I'm working with. Okay, so coming in at the number 5 spot is Spider-Man Miles Morales by Brian Michael Bendis. I really enjoy Miles Morales Spider-Man stories, and this one was extra fun to me because, well, it was his introduction into the Marvel 616 universe, which is their main continuity if you don't know that. And I like the family dynamic that Miles has a lot, and it's good to see that back here as well. And there's also some fun stuff like him, rubbing shoulders with some of the hero iterations that we're more used to from the 616 universe, as opposed to him having met them or interacted with them in the Ultimate Universe. He also takes on a wide array of Spider-Man villains here and whatnot. And he's in high school, which I think I always kind of prefer an academic setting for Spider-Man. That's just me personally, of course, though. And I like how Brian Michael Bendis writes Spider-Man characters. This might have been higher on my list if I didn't think that it got off the tracks a few times with, sort of tie-ins and events and whatnot getting in the way of like just a Spider-Man story, pure and pure. But overall, I thought, putting that aside, it was a very lighthearted, enjoyable, comedic, but still at times impactful with his message, Spider-Man story. I also think since this is his introduction to the main continuity of the Marvel world, that this is a good starting point for somebody who might not know that much about Miles Morales and you sort of want to get into him and see what he's all about. Then, yeah, I highly recommend this run. Next up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man by J. Michael Straczynski, Volume 1. There are 2 volumes to this, but I'm just using this as sort of a unilateral pick. This is another run where Spider-Man is kind of in an academic setting. This is, of course, Peter Parker, though, and he's not a student, he's actually a teacher, which I thought felt right for Spider-Man, and it helps keep him as a sort of financially struggling character because, teachers don't make that much. I don't know, I like it a lot because, he's sort of helping students out during the day with his day job, and then at night he's a vigilante, he's Spider-Man, and he gets to help people out that way. I also really like all the mystical spider totem stuff they included in this. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of that, but you've got to at least admit the battles that are involved in that feel very high stakes and are great to witness on the panel, and I think it's fun. It's like we don't have to take that too seriously, but it was really fun when it happened. This run would also be higher for me if it didn't have a few notorious missteps and get wrapped up in, the Civil War event, but I think we can forgive those because I like how this run focuses on the relationships, like between MJ and Peter and Aunt May and Peter. It's some really nice back-to-basics Spider-Man writing, and we love to see that. So if you're somebody who's looking for a Peter Parker-focused, more modern Spider-Man run to get into, then I would recommend this one, although it's not super modern anymore, but it's post-2000s at least. The number 3 slot goes to The Amazing Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane and David Michelinie. This is a fantastic Spider-Man book. I really enjoy it for the quality of its artwork and the quality of the storytelling. This is just some awesome Spider-Man stuff that leads up to him battling one of his greatest foes, his former costume. I'm just joking, it's Venom, of course, and the symbiote, but if you think about it, he is kind of just battling an old costume that hates him because he rejected it, and then mixed with Eddie Brock, who hates him too. But yes, of course, this has some really famous Spider-Man stuff in it, and we get, that introduction of Venom, then we get Carnage, and there's plenty of other villain action in here too. I mean, there's like Taskmaster, Sandman, all of that, and it's super satisfying stuff. We also get a really nice focus on MJ because she actually knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man in this, which lends itself to her being able to be involved in the stories in more of a way than she normally is, so, we get to see her perspective here. Awesome Venom story, awesome Black Cat stuff, awesome MJ stuff, and come on, we get these insane poses for Spider-Man in this thanks to the artwork. So I highly recommend this one if you're a Spider-Man fan or a Todd McFarlane artwork fan in general. It's just an easy, fluid read because the writing is so strong, and then it's a spectacle for the eyes. And in the number 2 slot, we have the Roger Stern Spider-Man Omnibus. Now this is some more classic and notable Spider-Man stuff here, and I think this is most famous for the the awesome Hobgoblin story arc that ensues and the battle that is part of that. It's totally worth reading this omnibus just to get to that, by the way, but the rest of the material is really great too. And if you've never touched on that Hobgoblin material before, it's a fun mystery kind of feel because it's not revealed for a while, even who the Hobgoblin is or his relation to the original Goblin or anything like that. It's suspenseful, to say the least. There's a little bit of something for everyone in here too. There's your comedic Peter Parker Spider-Man stuff, but then there's some also really heavy Spider-Man stuff in here. And look, there's lots of Parker luck, as we like to say. That's just where, Peter Parker is sort of going through it, which, I'm sorry, Spidey, but that suffering always makes for a great read. The Juggernaut story in here is fantastic. The Kid Who Collected Spider-Man story is a treat, and it's very sad and important and worth reading. But this is another run that I think flows really well together, and you should definitely pick it up because it's certainly iconic and it has very tender moments throughout. And if you're a fan of sort of just, Peter Parker at his core and the values that he represents, then this is a really, really good run for all that. And my number one favorite Spider-Man omnibus that I own is The Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis. Now, this book is personal to me for many reasons. First of all, this is the very first omnibus that I ever got. It's sort of something that helped me get more into comic books, and it is a back-to-basics Spider-Man story, but with a twist, because this is Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe, so it's kind of just a great starting point for someone like me when I was new to comics to get into a character that I was really interested in. And I read this as I was in high school too, and this is, again, Peter Parker in his academic setting, but it's sort of more modernized. It's got great variations on some famous villains, and it does great interpretations of them as well. Dr. Octopus in this is notably terrifying and a very, very formidable foe for Spider-Man. The Kingpin stuff in this is fantastic. The way Brian Michael Bendis writes Spider-Man to me too is just so good, and Spider-Man is so hilarious in this, but he's such a good person, and this just has everything you could possibly want in a Spider-Man run, and I love it for that reason. I really like the new interpretation of Venom and the symbiote saga that they did in here too. I think that was interesting, and it didn't have to be, the same as it is in Marvel 616 continuity. Craven in this is also really funny, really fun. A lot of really, really good stuff. And it really does focus on like the high school shenanigans and the high school hijinks, and it takes into account that, in the modern day, it'd probably be hard to hide the fact that you're Spider-Man, and there's a great moment when, there's a battle going on outside the classroom, and Peter Parker doesn't have a good excuse to leave to, go be Spider-Man, and everyone's just kind of knows that he's Spider-Man at this point, so they're all just looking at him. It's hilarious. It's so good. There's so much iconic stuff in even this run. Just please do yourself a favor. Pick this up. I think the omnibus just got reprinted or is getting a reprint soon. But please do let me know what your favorite Spider-Man omnibus or run is in the comments below. And thank you guys for checking out the video today. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more future videos.